how dangerous are crossbows? Like, would they actually be effective in a post-apocalyptic scenario? To find out, I got the 5 most unique crossbows on the market, from a 1-to-1 replica of a medieval crossbow, to 2 semi-automatic assault crossbows, to that, ending with the most powerful crossbow on the planet. The plan is to review them all and measure how accurate, fast, and lethal they are. So I want to test the 5 crossbows I got, going from the cheapest to the most expensive one. And so technically, I should start from this. This is a 1-to-1 replica of a medieval crossbow. In movies, medieval crossbows are portrayed like super deadly and capable of penetrating through anything, even armor. But are they actually? Well, it has a 242-pound draw weight, and for comparison, the average draw weight of a medium frame bow is about 50 pounds, or 22 kilograms. That's probably why the seller suggested me to get a cocking device like a wine glass, a goat's foot, or a belt hook. But I ignored that, because I'm a proud man, and I can cock the crossbow by hand. To do that, you hold the crossbow down with one foot, and just pull. Well, I had to try a few times, but after a while, I actually managed to do it. Right now the string is held in place by a steel hook, and so I can load the wooden bolt, which weighs about 26 grams. To do that, I just gotta place the bolt in front of the string. And now, after removing the safety, by pressing this lever, the hook becomes free to spin. It releases the string and shoots the bolt. And also, I'm not sure if you noticed from the camera, but this thing is loud. Now, to compare this crossbow with all the next ones, I'm running a series of tests. And the first one of them is measuring the energy it generates. First, I gotta find the velocity. So I'm placing 2 poles at 1.3 meters from each other's, and knowing the distance between the poles, and measuring the time it takes the bolt to fly through that distance, I got a speed of 152.6 feet per second, which with this bolt, it generates an energy of 28 joules, which is not extreme, especially compared to the crossbows I'm gonna test later. At least on paper. Now, besides energy, how accurate is this thing? For the accuracy test, I'm gonna use the same target for all the crossbows, and I'm gonna shoot 3 times from 16 yards and 3 times from 32 yards. Then sum all the points I got to get the final accuracy score.
Alright, go to 1. That was actually great.
To be fair, it's pretty hard to aim with this thing. It's the only crossbow on the list without a scope, and so the first shot I got me pretty excited. And then I missed all the next shots. Literally all of them. And so the medieval crossbow gets a total accuracy score of 7 points. Now the third test is about penetration. So to measure the penetration I could just use a gelatin block, but I already know the bolts are gonna just stick into it, and I didn't think it would be that interesting of a test. So instead, I made a shield. I basically placed a 0.7 inch pine board in front of the gelatin, so it's gonna be interesting to see if the bolts can even go through that. And the bolt left a mark into the board, but it didn't go through it. Now, the last test for the medieval crossbow, before moving to the next ones, is about damage. I'm gonna shoot a ballistic dummy head with bones from 50 meters, and see what happens. Oh, that's slow. It went in, but it's slow. And to be fair, it didn't even penetrate much. In any case, I tried again.
So it broke the tip of the bolt. It actually fractured it though a little bit.
But based on this test, the medieval crossbow is actually not lethal. Not saying it wouldn't have hurt though. Anyways, these are all the results I got with the first crossbow. Now the second and the third crossbows are very special, mainly for 2 reasons. The first one is linked to the biggest flaw of crossbows, the reload time. It generally takes a while to cock a crossbow, and then you also gotta load the bolt, which makes them pretty useless if you find yourself against more than one zombie. While these two have a magazine, and they're basically semi-automatic, meaning you can shoot multiple bolts very fast. The second reason why these are so special is because they've been invented, designed, and tested by a fellow creator and a great inspiration of mine when it comes to prototyping and engineering, Jörg Sprave. More than a decade ago, Jörg had the idea of developing a special magazine for crossbows, something that would allow you to load a new bolt automatically every time you cock the crossbow back. The experiments started with plywood and elastic bands in his workshop, then fast forward a few years, and here they are. Starting from the most compact of the two, the Interceptor. This is as close as a crossbow can get to an assault rifle on the current market, and the main feature of this crossbow is the 18-round magazine that you can load from below. Even the way you load the bolts is pretty similar to what you would do in a firearm. You just kinda click them in place, and again, it can hold 18 of them. Here's how it works. To cock the weapon, you just push this lever, and I push down the body of the crossbow with my other hand. By doing that, the string mechanism touches the release springs, releasing the bolts into the groove, but one at a time. And while doing that, I never even have to move my hand away from the grip. Now, the string is held in place by a crossbow claw, and the bolt is sitting in front of it. And here is how it looks in one motion. And that's it. And now the crossbow is ready to shoot. There is also a long Picatinny rail that allows you to mount a variety of scopes, and I'm currently mounting a red dot. A green one. Anyways, this is how it looks like when I'm trying to shoot it as fast as I can. To be fair, this is not an extremely powerful crossbow like the ones I'm gonna test later. I'm currently using a 60-pound limb, which is the standard one. Using a stronger limb would certainly give you more power, but it would also make it harder to cock, reducing the fire rate. Moreover, I believe 60 pounds should give you more than enough energy and damage, especially when using hunting tips. In any case, I'm gonna test exactly that. The Interceptor shoots 10-gram bolts at a speed of 203.4 feet per second, which means, as expected, that the energy is pretty low. But I'm also very curious to find out if this thing is accurate at all. For the accuracy test, I'm gonna mount a variable scope, while when it comes to the bolts, I'm gonna use the classic Go Gun bolts for all the tests, besides the damage one, for which I'm gonna use very mean hunting tips. So I tried my best to zero the scope, and then I shot 3 times for the accuracy test. 3. So I took 1 shot to see if my zeroing was wrong, and it was wrong, and then I took 3 shots and they're basically all right there. Now, because of the limited power from 32 yards, the bolts are dropping quite a bit. So I took a few shots to calibrate my aim, and for these next 3 official shots, I'm basically aiming way above the target. 2. 3. But actually, I'm still pretty happy with these results. They all would have been headshots. So the Interceptor gets a total accuracy score of 22 points. The penetration test gave similar results to the medieval crossbow. Nice hit, but no penetration into the wooden block. To be fair, if you are unsure how tough this wood is, here is what happens if I try to stab it with a combat knife. Basically nothing. So now, the last test is damage. For this one, instead of the field bolts, I'm gonna use hunting ones, in which the tips are basically blades. So, can the Interceptor actually stop zombies? Well, it certainly would have hurt. The arrow stopped after going through the jawbone, and my best guess is that it would have been lethal already if it landed on the skull. Now, before moving to the 2 biggest, most powerful, and most expensive crossbows, I wanna show you another semi-automatic one. This has a slightly slower fire rate compared to the Interceptor, but it has more than 3 times the power. And it's called Adder. In this crossbow, the magazine sits on top of the rail, and the original magazine holds up to 7 shots. But the key feature here is the loading mechanism. It gives a better mechanical advantage compared to the Interceptor, so that I can cock a 190-pound limb, like in this case, pretty easily. And the jumping power is pretty insane. Anyways, let's go test it. Now, I usually film all this stuff in my garden, but I got neighbors, and I'm not sure if they'd like bolts for lunch. That's why I'm going in the middle of nowhere for all the tests. And so while I get to the place, I'm gonna tell you a story. I am by far the most unorganized person I've ever met. Like, I literally forget everything. And so to keep up with all the stuff I gotta do and feel at least as productive as a normal person, I gotta use tools to help me out. And one of them is Odoo. Odoo is basically a software that helps people manage their businesses. It offers various apps that make daily tasks easier. The first app you choose is free forever, including hosting and support. And then if you pick more apps, you gotta switch to a paid plan. One of Odoo's key tools is the Project tab, which is also the one I'm using. It allows you to track progress, set deadlines, manage budgets, and work with your team in real time. The Kanban view lets you organize tasks by stages, moving them like sticky notes to keep everything organized. The Gantt view shows your tasks on a timeline, helping you see their order and deadlines, while the list view displays all your tasks details and lets you manage multiple tasks at once. There is also a feature that allows you to record the time spent on each task using the Timesheets app. This information helps you, for example, to bill clients for the hours worked. Basically, Odoo centralizes all your information in one place, making teamwork simple and efficient. I personally use Odoo to keep track of my video production schedule and meet deadlines, because without help, I'm basically all over the place. So I'm leaving a link in the description so you can try it for yourself. Moreover, your first app is completely free. So yeah, give it a try. Thanks to Odoo for supporting this video. Alright, let's test the other. I forgot I gotta zero the scope first again.
Jesus!
The other shoots bolts at a speed of 254 feet per second. And since the bolts weigh about 14 grams, it gives an energy of 42 joules, which is the highest one so far. Anyways, I'm shooting 3 times from 16 yards for the accuracy test. 3. And after adjusting the aim, 3 times from 32 yards. And the other gets a total accuracy score of 23 points. It's almost identical to the Interceptor, but it actually makes sense, since I used the same scope for both. And the penetration test also gave pretty similar results.
This one went definitely deeper compared to the previous one, but still, no exit hole. So it's almost there. Almost there.
Alright, now I'm gonna try to shoot the ballistic dummy, and I got even meaner tips for this test. This one's open. They're called flash slicer. Oh, the sound it made.
Can you see that shutter bone?
This is
Pretty insane. Right into the cheekbone.
And I believe the other would be definitely lethal. So even before this video, I was considering getting the other or the Interceptor. The choice between the two is probably subjective. I personally like them both, because of the compact size, because they are fun to use, but mainly for the fire rate. And especially for Europeans, it's very hard to find a better alternative you can buy without a license right now. So I'm leaving a link in the description to gogun.de, York's website, so you can get one of these, as well as bolts, more powerful limbs, and all the accessories to personalize yours. Check it out. Now there are 2 crossbows left to test, and they both cost thousands of dollars. One is probably the most unique looking crossbow on the market, while the other is by far the most powerful one. If we consider the previous 2 crossbows as assault crossbows, these 2 are definitely snipers. I'm gonna start by testing the Lance Head F1, and the price tag is about $2,600. First of all, it comes with the nicest case I've ever seen. It even has wheels so you can carry it around. Anyways, the lance certainly looks unique. It doesn't even look like a crossbow, to be fair. Mainly because it doesn't have visible limbs. Instead of using the classic limbs, this crossbow uses a sort of coil spring system. Basically, the limbs are rolled up inside these spaces as a sort of coil spring. This system, mixed up with pulleys, makes the entire crossbow very compact and narrow. It looks more like a rifle than a crossbow. Inside the package, you also find 3 very nice carbon fiber arrows, a high quality scope, and a winch system to cock the crossbow. Because with this kind of power, it would probably be impossible to do it by hand. What also should make this crossbow so powerful is the acceleration length. It's huge. It goes from here all the way to the back when it's cocked. And generally, a longer power stroke, which is the amount of time the string is in contact with the bolt, gives a higher speed. I also gotta mention the quality of this crossbow. The materials used are very nice, and the trigger already feels out of this world. Now, to load the crossbow, I gotta use the winch system, which is completely silent by the way. I gotta put this cross section of the winch inside its spot in the crossbow, then release the entire string and latch it onto the crossbow string. And then I just wind it. This way I'm pulling back the string, and you can actually see the pulley system working. I can also release the winch at any moment, because the winch has an integrated brake system, and so it keeps the string in place even if I'm not holding it. Alright, that was the sound of the trigger engaging. So I press the safety button, and then I can release the winch, load the bolt, and now it's ready to shoot. Alright, let's try it. Safety off. So this is the mat my father uses for the bows, and the arrows always stop. Now. It went inside the tree, and I had to take it out of the mat using a hammer. The difference in power compared to the previous crossbows is insane, and after a bit of practice, I also got faster at reloading it. And so, let's go test it. The lens shoots the bolts at an insane speed of 382.1 feet per second. And since these bolts weigh about 24 grams, that's 163 joules of energy. 4 times more energy than the other. And so now, I'm zeroing the scope for the accuracy test. As usual, I'm shooting 3 times from 16 yards. And I got a very nice grouping. Then again, 3 times from 32 yards. And besides, 1 time that I flinched. And the zeroing that wasn't perfect, since the crossbow was shooting to the right, the grouping of the first and third shot was pretty nice from 32 yards. Anyways, the lens gets a total score of 22 points. But it was my fault. Now, what I'm very curious to test are the penetration and the damage for the lens. None of the previous crossbows managed to get through the wooden block and hit the ballistic gelatin. And the lens? Not only went through the block, but it also penetrated about 9 inches into the ballistic gelatin. And now the damage test. Even though, knowing what happened to the wooden block, I kind of already know what to expect. And it feels safe to say this thing would certainly be lethal. The thing is, I thought that was powerful, but the last crossbow on the list is currently recognized as, and I quote, the world's fastest, most accurate, and most technologically advanced crossbow on the planet, achieving speeds up to 515 feet per second. That's why it's called 10-point TRX 515. And I'm gonna show you the features of this crossbow that support that claim. The first one being the twin riser technology. Think of the crossbow frame as the backbone. This design uses 2 layers of reinforced material that makes it much lighter, but also prevent it from bending or shaking when you shoot it. And in theory, less bending means more accuracy, because the energy goes straight into the arrow instead of being lost in vibrations. Then there is a premium trigger system, as well as an ambidextrous safety toggle, just like AR rifles. While using the lens head, I was struggling a little bit reaching for the safety toggle, but in this one, it's very comfortable to reach. The crossbow also comes with a high quality scope that's calibrated specifically for its high speed. It allows you to aim targets up to 100 yards away, thanks to the clear markings for different distances. So all the components are basically super high end, but it's with the next 2 features that it gets really interesting. To show you those though, I first gotta cock the crossbow and load it. Unlike the lens, the winch handle is attachable to the body of the crossbow, and the crossbow itself has an integrated winch. By pushing this button, I release the hook mechanism that slides until it grabs the string of the crossbow. And now, I just gotta touch the winch and wind it. At this point, I can load the bolt and then show you the cool features. The first one is about the barrel and the arrow rest. In the majority of traditional crossbows, the bolt slides on a flat rail so that it's kept in place when you shoot it. In this case instead, the bolt is suspended, and it only touches these three elements to guide it when you shoot it, improving accuracy while making the crossbows more durable because there is less wear and tear. What also makes this crossbow very different from most traditional ones is the limbs. Traditional crossbows pull the string toward the shooter, while this one pulls it toward the front. This reverse draw system creates a longer power stroke, as well as more balance, since the crossbow gets tighter when it's cocked. Alright then, let's try it. Now, since I know this thing is gonna hit hard, I added a few layers to the usual target. And I don't know if you get it from the camera, but the power and the feeling this thing gives you is a completely different level.
Oh my god, it's so nice.
Unfortunately though, the arrow went straight through all the targets, stopping only after hitting the tree, which I'm very sorry about. And it took me a while to get the tip out of there. Alright, I can't keep shooting this thing here. I need a much harder target. Assuming the one I have is gonna be enough. But yeah, let's go properly test it. And as usual, I'm starting with the speed test. And it's pretty insane. The speed is 510.2 feet per second. And since these bolts weigh about 28.8 grams, or 1 ounce, it means this crossbow carries an energy of 348 joules. That's almost twice the energy of the lance had, and 8 times the energy of the adder, which is already very powerful. The problem is that I'm also running into a problem I hoped I wasn't gonna run into. This mat has a softer foam and then a very tough layer to stop the arrows, and it worked perfectly till now. But this crossbow is so powerful that the arrow went straight through the tough layer and it broke in the process. So the biggest problem is that I got 2 arrows left for all the tests. To be fair though, I was pretty close to the target when I shot. So maybe by normally running the accuracy test shooting from 16 yards, the bolts won't break. And so I took one first shot to calibrate the scope. And this time, the bolt did not break, but I think part of the target just melted onto it. Anyways, I took the second calibration shot. And I'm already pretty close to the center. I just need one more shot to zero the scope.
It broke.
And that means I only got 1 bolt left. So I decided to temporarily move to the penetration and the damage test, and go back to the accuracy test later. And the bolt certainly penetrated into the gelatin, and the table, and the steel frame of the table. That is the last bolt I have, and it's now broken too. So I spent like half an hour calling all the archery and ballistic shops in my region, and literally nobody has these bolts. They're quite specific and apparently very hard to find. So I have no idea how to keep going with this test, and I'm in a rush because I have to upload this video yesterday. Alright, we just found a solution, and it's called Mark. Mark from tacticalarchery.uk. He's the same guy that sent me this beautiful crossbow to test, and he just told me that he also has bolts. He's gonna ship them today, and they're gonna arrive in time for the video. Thank you so much, Mark. Jeez. If you wanna buy this specific model of crossbow, it's literally the best shop in Europe where you can get it. But they also have a bunch of different crossbows. Bows, targets, bolts. So check them out. They are great. Alright, today is 3 days later. I bought a much thicker archery mat, and this one, in combination with the old one, should definitely, safely, hopefully, stop the bolts. And I also got the new bolts from Mark. Alright. I'm scared. Now, it's time to find out if the new bolts are just gonna break once again, failing the test, the video, you, and Mark. Let's see if the bolt broke.
Alright, And I think it's fine. Yes.
Yes! Perfect. Yes! Accuracy test, shot 1. So, first shot, I think it counts as a 10. I'm also removing the bolt every time, because I kinda fear I'm gonna hit them with the next shot. Probably it's not gonna happen, but I don't wanna risk it. And at the second shot, it's exactly where I shot before. Literally the same spot. That's why I went in a lot deeper. Like, you see what I mean? I shot 3 times. Look how many holes we have. This is insane. That must have been luck though. So it's impossible that the third shot is gonna get in there again. It's still there. I mean, these are the 3 shots next to each other's. Anyways, now I'm shooting from 32 yards. Then I shot 2 times high and left, but I realized my scope got loose, or my aim was too embarrassing to take accountability for it. So I scrapped those, and then I shot 2 more times. And so the total accuracy score for the TRX is 53 points out of 60. Now the last test is damage. And I mean, I can already know what's gonna happen, but I'm gonna shoot the dummy 3 times at different angles. And for the first shot, I'm gonna aim at the forehead. So, damage test, shot number 1. And it almost looks like nothing happened on the front, but on the back the skull basically blew up. Then I shot a second time. And I am not sure what happened there. I see smoke, the bolt tip flying. I just know the arrow broke for some reason and stopped inside the dummy. And then I shot the third time. So then, what would I pick for Zombie Apocalypse? Probably not a single one. I mean, at least 2. I would certainly get a semi-auto one, either the Adder or the Interceptor with a 90-pound limb to make sure it's lethal. And then I would get the 10 point. Assuming I got no budget issues. The 10 point is a clear winner in all categories, and I'd use that for long-range shots with insane accuracy. Let me know if you like this format. I think I could do this with a bunch of different weapons and I think it would be interesting. Next, I'm building an insanely powerful, winch-powered slingshot. So if you like this video or you're interested in the next one, subscribe so you're not gonna miss it. Thank you for watching. I'll see you soon with the next one.